All right, we're back on Big Board Sports, sitting on a huge weekend for men lacrosse. It's the biggest weekend. If you're men's lacrosse and your team is still playing this weekend, that means you've had one heck of a year. And we know Albany's had one heck of a year, and so is Yale, so is Maryland, and so is Duke. And those are your final four teams. And we localize it in a big way when you talk about Duke, because their junior midfielder happens to hail from powerhouse Niskyauna, who did win yesterday as well. They're in the Class A's, right? They rolled over CBA. We had the highlights last night, and I'm sure John Prendergast remembers those high school days at Niskyauna, and now he's a junior at Duke and in the Final Four, and he joins us on Big Board Sports. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
What's up, John?
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. And am I right in saying that you get to this time of the year and your team is still playing, you're in the Final Four, you've had one heck of a season. Talk about your year up to this point, and a matchup against number one, right? You're going up against Maryland.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had a great year. I feel like our senior class has really gone above and beyond what was expected of them, and they've just been great role models for the underclassmen. And I feel like the upperclassmen as a whole have really taken it seriously, making it to the Final Four weekend. But not only making it to Final Four, being able to here is great, but we want to compete and we want to be able to be the last team standing. So I think it's just a culmination of a lot of hard work that we put in the off season and just listening to our coaches and listening to our seniors.
John, what are the expectations in men's lacrosse at Duke? I know when you talk basketball, right, and Coach K, and they get a lot of headlines your way. It's Final Four, it's winning a national championship. Where is Duke in the pecking order in terms of popularity at that school with lacrosse, and have you seen it grown over the years that you've been there?
I mean, our expectations coming in are certainly get to the Final Four and be national champions. The cool thing I heard from one of our alumni who texted us is Tony McDevitt. He played here, and he said Duke isn't measured by the Final Fours you get to; we're measured by your championships. So it was like, okay, great, we've made it, but now it's time to win. But in terms of popularity, basketball's king here, football's king. We're pretty popular, but I think those guys are the cool cats on campus.
Those games at Navy drew more than 13,000 people this past weekend. The games at Hofstra, I was there, John, to cover Albany, close to 7,000. I would imagine Gillette will be rocking for championship weekend over Memorial Day weekend. John Prendergast with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio, junior midfielder for Duke, but from Niskyauna. And John, I loved seeing you score on Saturday in that win over Hopkins. It was your third of the year, and we showed it on News Channel 13 for the Niski fans here, remembering your days, certainly part of a state championship team with the Silver Warriors. What was the transition like? And I point out that it's your third of the year, but you've been asked to play a defensive midfield. You are a scoring machine at Niskyauna. Was that difficult for you to kind of turn that part of your brain off and play more of a defensive midfield?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I played defense at Niskyauna, but I was lucky enough to be able to play both ways there. And I feel like Coach Borgang really just taught how to play the game of lacrosse rather than teaching people how to become great scorers. Like I came in and understood that I had athletic ability to play defense my freshman year. And then the next year I come in and they say, hey, you're playing offense this year, you're a starting offensive player. And I said, great. And then the next year I'm back playing defense, and it's just like, listen, I'm here to be a player first, and then second, I want to do whatever it takes for this team to win. And if Coach Janowski and the coaching staff says playing defense is what's going to make that happen, then I'm listening to them because they've been here before and they are very knowledgeable when it comes to the game of lacrosse.
All right, tell us the truth now. You want to play Albany in the championship game over Yale?
There's some interest in playing them, but whoever's given to us, we're going to play, and we're going to play hard.
Goldstock was
Albany would be fun. My dad did work there for a while, and I have a lot of good memories at the Albany fields, winning some sectional championships that you covered. So
there you go. I know Goldstock was pumped to play UA last year in the tournament.
Yeah, that was fun for him. It was almost like a home game.
Right.
So going to Niskyauna, you probably never even thought about playing baseball, did you?
What's baseball?
Yeah, exactly.
You're bored with a stick.
I mean, Niskyauna has turned into just a powerhouse in high school lacrosse, John. You know that better than anybody. But I always talk about the popularity of lacrosse right here in the 518, and it's because of schools like Niskyauna and programs now like the University of Albany. And all of a sudden, young kids, John, at 6, 7, 8 years old, they're not playing the baseball, and they're putting the stick in the hand, running around the sport of lacrosse.
Yeah, I love it. I love seeing the growth of the game, especially in the Capital District. I grew up lucky enough to have 2 older siblings who went through the Niskyauna program, and my brother and sister both moved here while they were in middle school, and they ran into Coach Borgang, and he gave them the stick early, and they loved the sport, and I fell in love with it in first grade, and I've been playing ever since. So to see other kids following that path is great, but I will implore them to find other avenues that they also like. Say it doesn't have to be sports, but if you're a multi-sport athlete, that's something that college coaches are certainly into these days.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you playing more than one is, I think, always a really good thing. But you've obviously done a great job in the sport of lacrosse, and now you get Maryland, and the sport reminds me a little bit of basketball, right? And it is about matchups too. And I watched UAlbany last weekend in their matchup with Denver, and they like to play really fast, and Denver wanted to slow it down. So what kind of matchup do you have, Duke against number 1 Maryland at 2:30 in the semis?
Yeah, Maryland's a great team. I think that they are one of our more athletic teams we've played, and probably the best team we've played this far. And as a matchup, it's just going to be what each individual needs to do to win the game, and what our game plan is going to be going into it, and people executing that, and that's going to be our key to success. But right now, we're just trying to figure out who's going to guard who, and just a little bit of speculation on the offensive end as to how they are going to play us. So when it comes down to it in these Final Four games, you can't hear anything the coaches are saying. You just have to go out there and play and just be loose and have fun. Like, just understand that this is one of the coolest stadiums and environments you're ever going to play in, and just embrace it.
Foxborough isn't far from us here, John, in Albany. What do you expect not the UAlbany crowd, but the Niskyauna and Prendergast crowd to be?
I got some texts asking for tickets, and I think that my contingent will be strong. I'm hoping for a good show out. But my family will be there, and my coaches will be there, and that's the only thing that I'm really too worried about right now. I'm going to be excited to see Coach Borgang and his son after the games.
John, you're playing with one of the all-time greats in college lacrosse history. Justin Gutterding set the all-time Division I record for career goals, also in that quarterfinal win against Hopkins. What is it that makes him so great?
I think that people just want to be around Justin. He's just a great person to be around. He's one of the main reasons I came here. I don't know if you remember this, but we played Justin Gutterding my sophomore year at Marist.
I do.
We played on Garden City.
Yep.
And yeah, you were covering that game, I'm pretty sure. And Justin's just a great energy, and he has a drive to be the best. And he brings that out in other people, and I think that that's what makes him attractive to not only our coaching staff, but to all the younger kids. Everyone wants to be like Justin, just because he works so hard, and he does everything that he needs to do in order for our team to be successful. And he's not the person who's going to be bragging about scoring all these goals. He's the first person to be like, hey, I wouldn't be here without all of you guys, or I wouldn't be here without all of my past teammates. So he's a humble guy, and he works harder than anyone I've ever seen.
Well, look, we're all looking forward to this weekend. Should be a fun one. John, we wish you nothing but the best of luck in your semis against Maryland, and you got UA and Yale, and we'll see who ends up in the national championship game on Memorial Day Monday at 1 o'clock.
Great. Thank you guys so much.